The next day, Do-hyuk is at the Blue Star Guild Tower to meet with the guild master. Dewey places something on the table to give to Do-hyuk and says it's the KMA's report on yesterday's incident. She tells him that the 3 men pictured in the report are from overseas, and that they were probably assassins who were sent by the Ant Spirit. This is the first time Do-hyuk has ever heard of the Ant Spirit, and he asks Dewey about it. She tells him the Ant Spirit is an awakened individual who is based in China, and they don't know the Ant Spirit's real name. In addition, no one has seen the Ant Spirit's face. Do-hyuk tells her that he has never heard of the Ant Spirit ever mentioned in the news. Dewey tells him, of course, and says that the Ant Spirit is a deranged killer who only goes after famous awakened individuals. Do-hyuk asks her why the Ant Spirit would send assassins after him. Dewey explains that the Ant Spirit commands a group of assassins who travel the globe to carry out their assignments, and she tells him that it seems the assassins were commissioned to come after him. Do-hyuk asks her if they found out anything about the person who commissioned the job. Dewey pauses to respond. And then, she tells him that this is her personal opinion. She says that their guild stocks are rising, and it's thanks to the bomb sales. She believes it's someone who wants to keep both their guild and him in check. Do-hyuk guesses, so a high-ranking guild, like Plum Blossom or White Lotus. Dewey tells him yes, and that it is someone who would be willing to destroy something altogether, if they can't have it for themselves. She goes on to say that she thinks she knows who it is. Someone who is likely to plot something like this and to do so in this short amount of time. Do-hyuk asks her who it is. Dewey hesitates for a moment, and she tells him that since she doesn't have clear evidence, she will keep her suspicions to herself for now, to avoid any problems. Do-hyuk tells her okay, he thinks her response is good enough. Dewey hands him a business card and tells him to take it. Do-hyuk asks her what it is. She tells him that this might not be the last time someone hires assassins to go after him, and that although the guild can provide bodyguards, it would be a good idea to have a security system installed in his home. Do-hyuk tells her okay and thanks her for looking after him. He then gets up and tells her that he has other matters to attend to. Dewey asks him if something came up. Do-hyuk tells her that he just received an E-rank level-up quest. Sometime later, Do-hyuk arrives at the Dais Tower entrance near the Gwanghwamun Palace Square. He enters the tower with anticipation, and is surprised to see that the inside is brighter than he had thought. He looks around, and sees other awakened individuals in the room. A KMA agent at the tower greets him, and tells him to come this way. The agent informs him that the level-up quest will start soon, and he instructs him to wait in front of the dimension gate. Do-hyuk asks the agent what the big screen at the front is for. The agent tells him that the screen displays the record times of individuals who completed the level-up test, and he tells him that the records are also stored in the KMAA database. Do-hyuk asks the agent if a person will be added to the watch list if they break the record. The agent tells him that it is likely so, because a short-time record reflects incredible abilities. Do-hyuk leaves the agent, and heads over to the dimension gate. He thinks about how he made an effort to avoid public attention, and stay under the radar up to this point. However, setting a new record means that he could get special treatment from the KMAA. An example of such treatment would be gaining access to the state-controlled spell library. If so, he might be able to get his hands on a spell book. A young man approaches him, and remarks that it looks like it's his first time here. He then makes fun of what he is wearing. He tells him that only a newbie would come dressed up in shabby equipment for a level-up challenge. Do-hyuk isn't amused. He tells the young man that it doesn't really matter to him, because he casts spells at a distance. The young man continues to insult him. He strikes a pose to show off his shiny armor, and tells him if it's maybe because he can't afford it. He then says to him that it looks like he won't make it out alive from the quest. Do-hyuk asks him if he really thinks so. He tells him that he must disagree, and that also, he doesn't really feel it is necessary to be wasteful for a mere quest. The young man asks Do Hyuk if he is mocking him, and if he even knows who he is. He is offended because Do Hyuk implied that he was being wasteful. He then asks him if he sees the badge on his armor, and he tells him that he is from the White Lotus Guild. He drops the guild name again, and shouts, "The White Lotus," and he tells Do Hyuk that he better stay in line. Do Hyuk tells him to quit it, and that they'll just have to see who performs better on the quest. The man tells him he is a loser who couldn't even make it into a guild. He clicks his tongue when he sees the ring Do Hyuk is wearing, and he remarks, "What crappy items." Do Hyuk is thinking he is only judging by appearance. He tells him that he'll see when the results come out. Moments later, a green portal appears in front of them. The Deus system notifies them that the dimension gate is opening, and the quest is initializing. Shortly, the Deus system notifies them that the initialization has been completed, and the system instructs the awakened individuals to step forward. The young man glares at Do Hyuk as they wait for further instructions. The Deus system notifies them that they may begin. The young man enters the portal and begins his quest, as Do Hyuk eagerly waits for his turn. Sometime later, the young man from the White Lotus Guild finishes his quest. He remarks that it was easy. He thinks about how he is a rookie worth 5 billion won, about $4 million, who has been given intensive training by the White Lotus Guild. He is thinking about how that cheap-looking bastard dared to challenge him. He then imagines that his record will be a little over 4 hours, so he will most likely come in third on the E-level quest rankings board. Suddenly, people rush to look at the rankings board. They exclaim, "Wow, this is amazing! What kind of record is that? This is incredible!" The young man is thinking they are there because of him. "Yes, go ahead and admire my record. Wook Shul Kim's record." And then, someone says, "No wonder they signed on Do Hyuk Park for 150 billion won." He questions the name he just heard, Do Hyuk Park, and he sees the name ranked at the top of the list. He thinks about Do Hyuk Park as the guy who signed a 150 billion won contract with the Blue Star Guild, and who created bombs that can be used inside dungeons. He questions if this person is the same as that Do Hyuk Park. And then, he suddenly exclaims, "No way!" He falls to the floor from the shock. He slowly raises his head as someone approaches him. Do Hyuk approaches him with a question. How does it feel to lose to a cheap-looking competitor? About 1 hour ago, the Deus system notifies Do Hyuk that the E-rank level quest is now starting. The system instructs him to eliminate all the monsters around him and arrive at the target location. Several monsters begin to appear. The system notifies him that he needs to eliminate 100 monsters. Do Hyuk summons Akron to help him deal with the 2 ogres approaching him. Akron immediately jumps into position and begins to activate Burning Hands. Akron unleashes the spell on one of the ogres. The ogre screeches in pain as it is being burned by the flames. It attacks back and strikes Akron with its axe. After Do Hyuk finishes off the other ogre, he turns to look at Akron's opponent. He did not expect it to withstand Akron's attack. However, he isn't worried, because it's not impossible to destroy it. Akron activates Burning Hands again and finishes the job. Sometime later, a lighted entrance appears. Do Hyuk wonders if he is nearing the end. As he runs towards the entrance, the system notifies him that he eliminated 100 monsters. He arrives inside the room and steps into the teleportation circle. The system congratulates him for completing the E-rank level up quest. His time spent is 59 minutes and 35 seconds. Later that day, Do Hyuk is at his new house, brewing some tea. He's using the Grandma Ukbun Kim's 67-year-old kettle, one of the first artifacts he acquired. It increases magic by 0.01 for every 100 milliliters of tea consumed. Do Hyuk is thinking about how the level up quest was easy this time, but he is realizing that Akron and the drones are not strong enough to take on the trolls and ogres with ease. He sees that what he needs to do is to start increasing his alchemist level. He opens his status window to change his job class from wizard to alchemist. He then notices the flashing message, "Update required," in the ranking section. The system prompts him to update his rank level up. Do-hyuk confirms with a big fat yes. After the update, he is notified that he can choose a special spell to add to his abilities. A special spell is a passive and permanent ability that is granted to every DNF character. In DNF, these special abilities could only be acquired during the character formation process. Do-hyuk gains Miraculous Alchemy for his Alchemist class, Increase Wisdom for his Wizard class, and Duplicate for his Mechanic class. When he looks at the special spells window, he is surprised to find that he has additional special spells as a bonus. He didn't expect to acquire special spells that are unrelated to any of his job classes. He feels quite lucky. He thinks about how he already has attack, defense, and summoning spells. What he needs the most now is the healing spell. And he finds it, the Priest's Healing Hem special spell. It uses 200 magic power to instantly recover and heal 60% of physical strength and injuries. In addition, the magic cost doubles if the skill is used again within 30 seconds. Do-hyuk is feeling happy, because he can now respond in emergencies when a healer is not around. He wonders if this is how it feels, to have someone who's got your back and supporting you. The next day, at the White Lotus Guild building, Sun Yul-min is surprised to see someone entering her bedroom, and she remarks, "This is unexpected." She tells him that they haven't talked since the Deus Market auction event, and one day, out of the blue, he comes to visit her so early in the morning. She then tells him that she wanted to meet him again, and she says his name, Do-hyuk Park. Do-hyuk asks her if that is so. She says of course, and tells him that he is the incredible rookie, who has captured the world's attention. Do-hyuk tells her he is not there to chat, so he'll cut right to the chase. Sun Yul tells him, of course, she would prefer that as well, and she asks him what it is. And then, Do-hyuk asks her the burning question. "Why did you try to kill me?" Sun Yul asks him what he is talking about. Do-hyuk tells her that he knows she hired the ant spirit to send assassins after him. Sun Yul begins to play coy. She tells him that she doesn't know what he is talking about, and she asks him who the ant spirit is, and what killer. She then asks him what he means, that she tried to kill him. She rushes over to him and holds his hands, and she asks him if something happened. Do-hyuk sees the expression on her face, and he is amazed by how she can look so concerned. He is almost convinced. He yanks his hand out of her hands. He tells himself no, he can't fall for her act, and that the White Lotus Guild has always been notorious for their superficial reputation, especially Sun Yul-min. He knows that, unlike Enan Khan, she is known for doing whatever it takes to make money. He tells her that he expected her to deny the allegations, so he will give her two choices. He walks over to the chair to take a seat. Sun Yul tells him she doesn't know what he is talking about. Do-hyuk ignores her and proceeds to tell her her first choice. If she provides reasonable compensation for her wrongdoing, he will forgive her, and he will not treat her as his enemy. Sun Yul asks him what he means. Do-hyuk tells her to not interrupt him and to listen, and he tells her her second choice. She can send him back empty-handed, and he will go public with the assassination attempt. Sun Yul tells him that what he is saying right now has nothing to do with the White Lotus Guild. Do-hyuk gets up from the chair and tells her the choice is hers. He then tells her that she knows who will take the biggest blow when this goes public. When he reaches the door, he tells her that he'll consider her silence a no then. Right when he is about to leave, Sun Yul tells him to wait. She asks him how much he wants, and she begins to throw numbers at him. 1 billion won, 2 billion won, 3 billion won. She then exclaims, "Tell me how much you want." And Do-hyuk answers her. 10 billion won, about $7.8 million US. Sun Yul is completely appalled. She tells him that he is asking 10 billion won for something that he isn't even sure about. Do Hyuk tells her the circumstances around the incident point to her, and the way she is reacting right now is basically an admission of guilt. Sun Yul is realizing that she can't argue her way out of this. She bites the bullet and tells Do Hyuk she will give him the money. She then tells him if this incident ever leaks out, she really will kill him. As soon as Do Hyuk leaves the White Lotus Guild building, he receives a notification of payment made to him. He now has over 180 billion won, about 142 million US dollars, sitting in his savings account. He begins to think about the murderous look on Sun Yul Min's face, and he sees that the rumors about her were true. He expects this won't be the last time she plots something against them. He also thinks about the assassins, and that the ant spirit may send more after him once they learn that the first attempt failed. He realizes that he needs to be prepared and become stronger. He suddenly receives messages from an unknown ID, but sees that it is the Information Guild. He requested information about an antique shop, and he's been waiting for them to get back to him. He sees the shop is located at the ISU station, and decides to head there now, to pick up the new book he ordered, and to go treasure hunting. Somewhere near the ISU station, there is a young man sitting in a pavilion at a park. He wonders what is wrong with his life. He looks at his business card, and sees that he is Taepong Shin, a financial planner, and his motto, "I design the best future for my clients, you can count on me." He crumples up the card out of frustration. He thought that everything would work out for him once he became a financial planner. And this is how he ends up. An adult, wearing a suit and sitting at a park in the middle of the day. A few moments later, he receives several notification alerts on his phone. The notification alerts came from a group chat that he is in. One of his friends went to a D-rank dungeon for the first time, and hit the jackpot. He obtained a lot of dimension stones and other things. He sold the items and made 10 million won today. Taepong is thinking about how some of them can barely afford groceries, and this guy earns much more than him just from one trip to the dungeon. He begins to feel resentful. He wonders if he is bragging or what he's trying to do. He gets up and begins to take a walk. He knows his problems are his own. He blames his misfortune of not becoming an awakened in this era. Suddenly, the ground begins shaking. He wonders what this rumbling is. Moments later, a dimensional crack appears in the middle of the street behind him. He turns to look. People are screaming as they are being sucked into the portal. Do Hyuk has just arrived. He steps out of his car and wonders if this is an outbreak. He questions it because based on his experience, an outbreak isn't supposed to suck people in. He then thinks about the victims, and becomes concerned because they are not even awakened, they are just regular citizens. They will be killed instantly by the monsters. He realizes he needs to go save them right away. As he approaches near, he sees two people have already arrived to handle the situation. They set up a pseudo-barricade around the site, with signs that say "Do not enter." The young man in the gray hoodie says, he is Jejun Kim and he is an awakened, and he lets everyone know that he already reported the incident to the KMAA. The young man in the blue jacket says he is an awakened too and his name is Min Soo-yoon, and he shouts for everyone to please evacuate the area, because monsters can suddenly appear here. Do Hyuk is glad to see there are other awakened individuals here. He rushes over to them and introduces himself, and tells them he is an E rank, and that he is there to provide backup. Jejun greets him, and he hands out a stick, and tells him to take it and do traffic control. Do Hyuk is appalled. He asks him what he is talking about, and he tells him that they must go save the people right now. Jejun turns to Minsu, and asks him if he just heard what Do Hyuk said, and tells him that this E-ranker wants to go in and save people. Minsu says really, because he thought he heard wrong. Jejun places his hand on Do Hyuk's shoulder, and says to him, an E-rank like him won't be much help in a dungeon that they don't even know the rank of. He tells him not to cause trouble, and to go and manage the traffic. Do Hyuk asks him, when did an awakened's duty include the responsibilities of a traffic control officer? He then recites to him Article 1 Clause 1 of the Charter for the Awakened. For a person with special gifts, it is the Awakened's duty to protect civilians in emergency situations, and he tells him this article exists for a reason. Jejun laughs at him and says, "What a great hero," and he asks him if he can handle all of it on his own. Do Hyuk replies, "That's right, so take your hands off me, and get lost." And then, he says the incantation, Strengthening of Speed. He activates haste, and bolts past them, while knocking them down like bowling pins. He heads straight into the dimensional crack. Taepong is wondering where he is, when he finds himself on the ground, in a clearing in the middle of the woods. He is sure that he was just at the ISU station. He grunts when he suddenly feels a throbbing pain. He sees that it's coming from his leg. He realizes that he can't get up. Moments later, he hears noises coming from the woods. He turns to look, when he hears the sounds get louder. And then, a giant toad-like monster suddenly appears before him. The monster is gnawing on a tree. It is very hungry. Taepong begins to panic. The monster immediately notices him, and it makes its way towards him. Taepong screams, and he manages to get up and run. However, he immediately falls back on the ground. Taepong is crawling on the ground and is trying to get away from the monster. He says he can't just die here. He begins to think about his parents. He didn't even get a chance to take care of them. The monster catches up with him and grabs him. The monster opens its mouth wide, as it prepares to eat its meal. Taepong is screaming no, in his thoughts, as he sees his final moments flashing right before his eyes. He begins to pray, "Dear God, if you really exist, please save me now." He closes his eyes and continues, "If you save me, I will offer you my entire life." A flying acid arrow appears out of nowhere and slashes the monster's arm off. Taepong screams, as he falls straight down towards the monster's open mouth. Until someone catches him. They land on the ground and away from the monster. The monster is screeching in pain. The person asks Taepong if he is alright. Taepong asks him who he is. The person says, "I am an awakened, my name is Do Hyuk Park. I am here to save you."